If you're building APIs in Python these days, you've probably heard the buzz around one name in particular, FastAPI. It's modern, it's ridiculously fast, and honestly, it's just designed from the ground up to make developers' lives easier. So today, we're going to dive into exactly why this framework is taking over the Python backend world.
And look, we're not talking about some experimental new toy. This thing is battle-tested. I mean, you've got some of the biggest names in the industry relying on FastAPI in production right now. We're talking Netflix, Microsoft, Uber. These companies are powering critical services with it. That's some serious confidence.
So here's the game plan for this explainer. We'll start with the basics, what FastAPI actually is. Then we'll look at why it even needed to exist. We'll get into its core magic, the code and the docs, then talk about its superpowers, which are all about speed and scale. And finally, we'll see how you take it from your machine into the real world.
All right, let's jump right into part one. What exactly is FastAPI? Well, if you had to boil it down, it's really this incredible mix of pure, raw speed and a developer experience that just makes you happy to write code. Officially, it's a modern, high-performance web framework for building APIs. It was created by Sebastian Ramirez back in 2018. But the really clever part is that it's not built from scratch. It actually stands on the shoulders of two giants, Starlet, which handles all the high-speed web stuff, and Pydantic, which is the brains behind the data validation. You got to remember those two names. They're the secret to its power.
Now, to really appreciate why FastAPI is such a game changer, you have to understand the world it was born into. It wasn't just made for fun. It was built to solve some very real, very annoying problems that Python developers had been dealing with for a long, long time.
And wow, this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the old way of doing things with frameworks like Flask and Django. You were writing data validation code by hand. You were stuck with synchronous requests that could really slow you down. And oh yeah, you had to write all your API documentation manually. But then you look at the right side, the FastAPI way. It's like a different universe. Validation is automatic, async support is built right in for incredible speed, and the documentation, it just generates itself.
Okay, now for the first bit of magic, the developer experience. This is where most people have that aha moment, because it just completely changes how you think about writing an API.
I mean, just look at this code. This right here is a complete working API. Line 1, you import FastAPI. Line 2, you create your app. Then you use a simple decorator to say, hey, when someone does a GET request to the main URL, run this function. That's it. 5 lines of clean, standard Python. No weird boilerplate. It's just so elegant.
Okay. But we all know writing the code is just half the story. The other half is documenting it so other people can actually use it. So, does this mean we now have to go write a bunch of tedious documentation by hand?
Nope, not a chance. The second you run that little 5-line app, FastAPI has already generated beautiful interactive API docs for you. Seriously, you just go to /docs in your browser and boom, a full Swagger UI where you can see all your endpoints and even test them right there. Or you can go to /redoc for a different style. It's an absolute game changer for productivity.
So how in the world does it do that? Well, the secret sauce, as we mentioned before, is Pydantic. This amazing library takes the modern Python type-ins you're already using for things like autocomplete and puts them to work. It uses them to automatically validate incoming data, serialize outgoing data, and even generate the schema for your documentation. You define your data shape one time, and Pydantic handles the rest. It's brilliant.
Okay, so the developer experience is top-notch, but now let's talk about FastAPI's other superpower, and maybe its biggest claim to fame: pure, raw performance. We're talking speed that puts Python right up there with languages that people traditionally think of as faster, like Node.js and Go.
And you don't just have to take my word for it. The chart says it all. This isn't just a small bump in performance. When you're dealing with a lot of users hitting your API at the same time, you can see FastAPI is just miles ahead of a traditional framework like Flask. This is a genuinely massive leap forward for Python.
So how does it pull this off? Well, as you see here, it comes down to a fundamental shift. The old way, called WSGI, is like a single-lane road. Every request has to wait for the one in front of it to finish. But FastAPI is built on ASGI, which is like a multi-lane superhighway. It can handle tons of requests at once. By using Python's native async and await, it means if one request is stuck waiting for a database or another API, other requests can just zoom right past it. The traffic never stops flowing, and that's the secret to its speed. So this all sounds amazing in theory, right? But what about when it's time to actually get to work? Let's talk about what it looks like to take a FastAPI app from your laptop all the way to a global scale production environment.
The great news is the path to production is really clear and well established. You start by developing locally with a blazing fast server called Uvicorn. When you're ready for production, you use a battle-hardened tool like Junicorn to manage your Uvicorn workers. From there, it's super easy to package the whole thing up in a Docker container, and then you can deploy it literally anywhere. Kubernetes, AWS Lambda, you name it.
So let's just put it all together in one place. You can see right here in this table where everything stands. For sheer performance, native async support, and auto documentation, FastAPI is just in its own league. Now, Flask is still amazing for smaller apps, and Django is an absolute beast for huge full-stack web applications. But for APIs and microservices, FastAPI has really become the new king.
So at the end of the day, what does this all actually mean for you as a developer? Well, it means you can build things faster because all that boring stuff is automated. It means your apps can handle way more users, probably on less expensive hardware. You get to write clean, modern Python using all the latest and greatest features. And ultimately, your apps are just going to be more robust and more secure, thanks to all that built-in validation.
And really, it all comes down to this one powerful idea. FastAPI isn't just another framework to add to the list. It feels like a real turning point, a fundamental shift in how we build things on the web with Python, combining an amazing developer experience with truly elite performance. You could say it's not just a framework, it really is the future of Python web development.